I guess let's just jump into it. Obviously, yesterday there was big news in Packers world, and that's Aaron Rodgers is coming back. And the biggest news that people are still running with is a 4-year, $200 million contract that I just saw reported again like 5 minutes ago, and that's still not a true thing. So, one, Aaron Rodgers is coming back. That's cool. And I think we should focus on that. But I just want to start the whole conversation with people listening that you heard the $200 million contract. You heard the $50 million per year. You heard the selfish guy wanting all of the money, wanting a quarter of the cap to himself, and that's why he's back. I just want to start with saying it's not true. The contract was presented to him, and he has not signed it or accepted it. And not only am I disputing it, he has also publicly disputed it, and that is still a narrative that's being ran with by ESPN, NFL Network, Fox Sports, CBS. CBS might actually have it right. The others for sure continue to do it. But I just want to start it off. I mean, Luke, we can go around clockwise, starting with you. I don't think anybody here is surprised that Aaron Rodgers is back. But what was your overall feelings? Was it more relief? Was it more joy? How do you feel about the whole situation? What do you hope happens next, I guess?
Well, in my mind, the Packers have been talking about it. Gutekunst's been talking about it. Whatever, been saying that once Aaron Rodgers gets done, then you can move on to everything else to see what you can play with, what you can work with a little bit. Now, I know that Aaron Rodgers, I guess, isn't technically done, or like you said, the contract's not worked out. But I'm just happy to see them move along more into the Packers have a lot of decisions to make. They obviously just franchise tag Davante Adams. I mean, Zadarius Smith is a free agent. This is down the road, but Jair Alexander only has one more year left on his deal. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Mason Crosby. There's a lot of key players. Not that Mason Crosby is as key as Rodgers or anything, but there are key players that you need to make decisions on. So if this is the first domino falling, then I guess I am happy as a Packer fan to see to see that continue to move here. Maybe I'm just happy to see a little bit of Packers back.
Yeah. And I just want to touch on really quick that Zadarius Smith is not a free agent, but he is owed so much money that he will be a free agent very, very soon. That's because we're going to cut him. And thank God. Good riddance. Goodbye. Cue the Green Day's music because you're gone. Janet, how do you feel about the whole thing so far?
I'm excited. Like, I mean, I knew he was gonna come back. I was so annoyed with people like messaging me and asking me like if I'm some sort of source. I'm like, I'm not a source, dude. I'm just like a diehard fan. But I was really excited. I'm glad that he's back. But like our trip up to Wisconsin this past year was because we thought it was gonna be his last year. So now we gotta come up with another excuse to keep going to games. So yeah, no, I was really excited, and I'm pretty sure he's that deal. Obviously, everybody's talking about it, but he said it wasn't true. I think he's making sure that Adams gets worked into, the deal. Like I don't think that it's going to be that much. I don't know. That's just me. Everybody can believe what they want to believe, but I'm happy that he's coming back.
My level of happiness, I think, will depend on what the final figures come in at. The other caveat I kind of want to make sure we cover is a lot of people do not know how salary caps contracts work. If he is getting $200 million over 4 years, guess what? That doesn't necessarily mean he's a $50 million cap hit per year. That is not how cap hits work. So they're somehow using invalid information and still getting the wrong answer. I don't know how, but just because this is cap friendly, I don't know. I just cannot wait for the contract to come out with a lot of money. People panic and say it's this. Probably wait and see what the actual figures are, what the actual cap hit is going to be. And when the contract is leaked, don't jump the gun. Like, just wait a little bit, see what it is. Because people jumped the gun on the first one and we're still dealing with the ramifications of that. So overall, I'd say I'm happy. I think that obviously depends on the hit, but it sucks that we kind of have to be wary about what's coming out because a lot of just false stuff is retweeted, reposted, and that's kind of always been the case. It's sad, but it's just the way the media cycle works.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the bank today and someone told me about like, hey, did you hear about Aaron Rodgers signing a $200 million contract? Like everyone's still running with this. And I'm just like, no, like, please just shut the fuck up before you talk anymore. Like, stop talking to me because you're wrong. But yeah, to your point, I don't know if this was made public or if it's just something I was told and read. But the contract details for what he was given and presented, it was about 152 or 3 million was guaranteed. I think this was made public. So like quite literally, if they truly wanted to, they can make it all a signing bonus and have it all this year. They could have it all next year, could have it all the year after that. Like he could be a $200 million quarterback and have a $10 million cap hit if they truly wanted to. That wouldn't happen. But that is something that they can do because the salary cap is fake. You can make up as many rules as you would like. This could be a 4-year, $200 million contract with 10 void years, which means we pay him 10 years after he doesn't play for the team. Like all of this is imaginary, and that possibilities are as endless as your imagination is. Like there's no rules, and the Packers
Willy
typically follow
Wonka.
the rules, though, which is why we don't win. But why, Janet?
I said NFL Willy Wonka. It's just all
Pretty much.
imaginary.
Who goes into the bank anymore? That's my question. What the hell were you doing inside a bank?
I had my debit card stolen, so I needed
Ah.
to get a new one. Thank you for asking. If you're listening and you stole
And
my
you took
information,
my-
fuck you, because I had to go to the bank, which is the worst place ever.
Yeah, and then talk to a guy about
After the
Aaron Rodgers.
DMV.
That's the worst part of it.
Oh, they're like, hey, you're a sports writer, right? Have you heard about this? Like, first off, if I'm a sports writer, of course I heard about
should've
it.
said
And
no.
two, you're fucking wrong.
you should have just been like, you can see me?
So angry. So angry. To Janet's point, though, I wrote about everything Monday. About what the situation was, what everything was happening about, and all of this, the Aaron Rodgers delaying his decision and impacting his decision was him utilizing his influence, his power in order to help Davante Adams, and obviously helping Davante Adams helps himself because he's the best wide receiver in the league. So I'm not trying to make it sound like he is this unbelievably good guy, but he is doing it so Adams can get a long-term extension and not play under the franchise tag, because Adams has already said he won't play under the franchise tag. Now, will he or won't he still? I mean, that's up for debate. But Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed his contract because the negotiations with Davante Adams aren't done. And people don't realize that. And I'm not saying, again, read the article on FlurrySports.org, but I'm not saying Adams' contract is going to be signed before Aaron Rodgers. But with the way NFL contracts and negotiations work, I would assume there's a handshake deal. Basically, hey, Adams, if you really are the dude and you do these exact things during the year, once you hit this threshold, once you accomplish these goals, essentially like these performance-based deals like you see contracts are all the time. Once you hit this, we will offer you the contract that you're wanting. And the whole issue currently with this contract is, as we remember back in January, I believe, Gutekunst said that there are two ways to look at how a highest paid wide receiver is defined. And people forgot about this already. And he didn't elaborate, but I'll elaborate. He wanted to sign Davante to a long-term deal, which is the biggest deal of all time, but not the biggest per year. Davante wants the biggest per year, which, so he's wanting what, like 22, 23, 24, 25 million per year. Is he worth that? Probably yes. Is he going to be 30 years old this year? That's also true. So I don't blame Gutekunst for not wanting to do that. But Aaron Rodgers is saying, you will do this, or I'm not going to sign long-term. And once we see the final contract structure of Aaron Rodgers, don't be surprised if there's a void after every single year. There's going to be an out for him. Because if Davante Adams doesn't get the long-term extension, if Gutekunst goes back on his word like he did with Aaron Rodgers' contract already, then Aaron Rodgers is going to do this whole thing next offseason and we will be right back here, and we will say, hey, is Rodgers going to get traded for Russell Wilson down in Denver after that failed? Like this, we're going to be in the exact same spot. But there are dominoes that need to fall. And overall, it's a good thing. I'm not trying to say this is a negative thing, but that's the situation right now that we are in.
Something I think people need to understand as well, and I've heard it from a lot of friends and family, is people are like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is a diva, whatever you may think, COVID, whatever. I don't care. Like, have your own opinion. Some people are saying he's a diva over this because he's dragging it out. What I just want to tell those people is ask them, like, they're like, oh, I keep hearing about it. Has Aaron Rodgers said anything? He said something a week ago on the Pat McAfee show about like just going over his decision. Be mad at the media for posting the same shit every day. Like, that's who you're mad at. That's why it's still in the media. That's why you're hearing about it every day. Don't be mad at the guy who's doing everything behind closed doors like he always is, because that's just not pointing the finger at the right person. That's giving the Packers another potential out with Aaron Rodgers looking like an asshole, even when it's not his fault. Like, just be better, I guess. It's sad I have to keep saying that, but just be better, be smarter, think past the first line.
Just to add to that, whether it's true or not, whatever you want to believe, it's wild that the media made a guy a villain out of going to Hawaii for a month
in his off season.
And
right.
when other players were doing the same shit, like
Right.
like I saw a bunch of players also in that same like area, and they didn't get anything. Like, they didn't get any hype the way he did.
Like my sister made a comment, and the stupidity of Pittsburgh must have gotten to her or something. But she said, like, look at last year after the NFC Championship game, how long it took him to make a decision. This dude's been playing football for like 20 plus years. That's been his whole life. I would certainly hope he doesn't make a decision about the last 20 years in a couple weeks. Like, come on.
Oh, it was Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was also in Hawaii, posted the same exact time, and they didn't talk about it. They just like, oh, look at him with his beautiful fiance. Like,
that's because you
I don't know if they said that.
Yeah, they did not say that about her.
Well, the media did. Yeah. We know they're fake.
True. Good point. That is a good point. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was at least more vocal about things this time. And I'll say people mad about him drawing it out. Like, first off, he didn't. The new league year hasn't started. Like I said, it starts next week. He said he'd make his decision before the franchise tag deadline, which he did. And just because he didn't follow the deadline or the schedule that you projected for him, now you're upset because you were wrong. So I apologize. You were wrong. But for the people who are upset about this specifically, I can tell you're wrong a lot. You had Aaron Rodgers retiring. You had him going to Denver. You had him getting $50 million this year. You had him doing all of these things, and you haven't been right yet. So I would just relax a little bit and probably stop reporting on sports.
Don't forget to apologize to them for their feelings being hurt because he didn't do exactly what they wanted. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, good God. Aaron Rodgers also, he was vocal during this, but not necessarily through him. Last week, the report about it went through Rapport, by the way, down at the Combine. But that Aaron Rodgers wasn't thinking about if he would play anymore. Now it's thinking about where he would play. And that was totally him making sure Gutekunst was like, okay, because Gutekunst did that whole spiel and did that whole tirade on, maybe we'll let Davante Adams walk in free agency. And Rodgers like, no, actually, let's make sure you don't do that. Let's sign him to a long-term deal, which didn't end up happening yet. But, yeah. But anyway, Packers are still like $46 million over the cap. That includes the $20 million something from Davante Adams. That includes the $46 million from Rodgers, because I can't stress this enough. He hasn't signed a contract yet. He hasn't signed an extension. So he still has a $46.6 million, I believe, hit against the cap. What will happen next? Aaron Rodgers will negotiate his deal once the negotiations with Adams are at a good spot. I assume the cap hit will go from 46 point whatever down to maybe around 30, maybe around 25 at the absolute lowest. Then Randall Cobb's going to negotiate his contract. He currently has a $9.5 million hit against the cap. I assume that will come down to about 3. Otherwise, they're just going to cut him. So like he has to take whatever money they tell him to, essentially. And by the way, Rodgers is doing it for him too. Rodgers has no wide receivers right now. Like literally. Alan Lazard is a free agent. Marquez Valdez-Scantling a free agent. Robert Tonyan's a free agent. Davante Adams isn't going to play under the franchise tag per him. Randall Cobb is going to get cut or negotiated. We sure do. We got it.
You know who'd be great right now? Devin Funchess.
At what?
A rich
just
man's,
like raising the morale, or what?
A rich man's Curtis Samuel.
Maybe. You know what? That's a good point. We should think about it. But yeah, so Rodgers is going to sign. We're going to get the Cobb news. We're going to get the Zadarius Smith release after that. I would assume that saves $15 million. That's why I'm just assuming it's a release, because I don't think he's going to accept a $15 million pay cut, but maybe he will. I don't know. I would assume Preston Smith gets reworked. I would assume, if I'm remembering right, Dean Lowry gets reworked. They said they're working on a Jair Alexander extension, which makes sense. I mean, you got to sign him, and right now is the best time, obviously, because of what he did or didn't do last year. This is the time you got to do it. But yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about the Aaron Rodgers situation? Because I want to talk about Jordan Love after this, because that's fun too. No, let's talk about Jordan Love.
Real quick, can I just say, like, just because you call off an engagement, I've never been a fiance or married before. Just because you called off an engagement doesn't mean you're like broken up. I don't know. I don't know why everybody's stupid when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. like it's just that simple. Like, I'm not gonna, like, if you think he's an asshole for COVID, whatever. But like, everybody, it gets to him and they just turn it into Neanderthals. Like, we forget how everything works in society. So that'll matter to way too many people. So I just thought I'd get that out there.
And by the way, Aaron Rodgers is an asshole, but that doesn't mean he's a bad guy, and that doesn't mean I don't like him, because I'm a massive asshole. So I think it's funny. So
and I like myself.
I love myself more than anybody.
Do you think Rodgers is more asshole or douchebag?
I think asshole.
I think so
okay.
too.
So my dad was in the Navy, and he said this one quote, and I always keep it in my head. He said, "I'm an asshole, but like I'm a cool asshole that everybody likes." That's it. Like, so I always keep that in my head.
At the same time, if you were Aaron Rodgers, would you not also be an asshole? Like, he is the best person of all time to fling a football at like sheer will and whenever he wants, wherever he wants. Everybody would be an asshole if they had that ability.
Not just that, he's also the best at ever flinging a football, but pretty much every room he walks into, he's also the smartest person in it, and also the richest person in it. And everybody hates you. So, like, of course. Yeah, why wouldn't you go full heel? That's perfect. Yeah,
and he's got seniority, too. He's been there for so damn long.
And he can grow facial hair. That makes me mad.
Okay. Yes, Luke?
I just had a hypothetical question. You bringing up that, Rodgers can sling it and put it wherever he wants. Maybe this question's a little more suited
Footballs,
for Trevor.
I'm talking, but yes, continue.
Yeah. But maybe this is a little more suited for Trevor. But what do you think would do better? Pitchers as quarterbacks or quarterbacks as pitchers?
Ooh. Why would that only be suited for me? Well, I guess Zach doesn't like baseball. I think quarterbacks would be better as pitchers, because most pitchers are little bitches, and so they'd get hit once and they'd like try to fight, and then they realize, oh, you guys actually fight in the NFL. And then one out from Aaron Donald, and they're just done.
I was thinking about that too, because I know like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and like they play baseball, but I've never really heard too much about baseball players playing in the NFL. I don't know.
That's because it's a harder
that's Kyler
sport.
Murray.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So.
That too. Little Boxes in the chat does think pitchers would be better quarterbacks, though, and that's fine to have wrong opinions. So that's cool to have a nice insight on that too.
Thank you for joining us, but you're wrong.
Yeah, Janice, nice cop here.
It's
I'm
like
just,
Splish splash, your opinion is trash.
You should start saying that to your kindergartners.